Hello and welcome to a special VGC podcast with Ben Starr, the star of Final Fantasy 16, and a good friend of mine. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm doing really, really well now that I'm talking to you.
It's launch week, mate. How are you feeling?
I am. I don't really know how I'm feeling, if I'm honest. It's so crazy and such a whirlwind. So many things are happening all at once. Just a couple of hours ago, they announced that Clive Rossfield's sword is going to be on display at the Tower of London.
Yep.
I'm just thinking, wow, this game is everywhere. I get messages from people saying this is Clive on the side of a bus, or this is Clive on a huge 3D billboard. It's kind of crazy, and I'm not really taking it all in. I'm just aware that stuff's happening to me and just pushing on through. But it's pretty cool.
Are you going to ask for that sword once the occupation for the month is finished?
Yeah. I'm gonna tie myself to the sword until they give it to me and take it home.
I
uh,
mean, you presume you're the star of a Final Fantasy game. You're going to be getting merch made of you for, or of your character for the foreseeable. Are you the type of person to get all of that as soon as it comes out?
yeah, so I'm the only reason I'm doing this game is for the merch. I don't
Yep.
care about the game. I don't care about the art. I'm all about the free stuff. Um, I yeah, I yeah, I've already got so much merch. I mean, I'm wearing
Nice.
the Ifrit pin here. I love it. I just think it's all really cool, and it's all really good quality. Like there's another pin of the Rosarian crest, which I think Insert Coin have got, which is really neat. And I've agreed that I'm going to get a tattoo of it when the
Nice.
game comes out because it's just been such a huge part of my life, and I just want something to remember it by. But yeah, if I don't get a tattoo, then I'm going to have thousands of pounds worth of free merchandise in my cupboard. I'm angling for the Clive Rossfield cardboard cutout that they've
Yeah.
got. Yeah, that's what I really want.
I mean, if anyone's going to get it, if it feels like it should be you. It must be a weird situation wherein obviously you record bits of this game for years. You know you're in it. You know you're doing it. Can't say a thing, and then like on the lead up to launch, it's just constant. It's everywhere. Is that a bit jarring? Like, what's that like?
Hugely jarring. I couldn't talk about this for so long, and about four or five people knew that I was doing this. And then suddenly everyone knows that I'm doing this, and the posters are everywhere. And go from I'm just doing this video game to Final Fantasy 16 is plastered on everything across London, around the world. It feels so crazy that this private thing is now not just being shared with people, it's being forcibly thrown at them from all angles. If you didn't know about Final Fantasy 16 before, you will by the time this week's over. And that is really, really crazy. I'm not struggling with it, but I'm kind of having to catch up and be like, oh wow, yeah, no. I feel be present for this moment. Be aware that this is happening to you. Really take it in because this only happens well once in your life. Really, it'll never happen to me again. So it's a very cool thing.
Are you nervous at all about people getting their hands on it?
Am I nervous? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think if I'm nervous because I just it's been some my work on it is quite personal to me, and I think I put a lot of myself into it. That I it's always nervous offering a bit of yourself to people and saying have a go. But I feel that I'm really confident in what we've done, and that it will resonate with people. And even if it doesn't resonate with everyone, the fact is there are going to be people out there who it does, and I'm really proud of that. And even the reception to the demo is enough for me. That I've had people message me saying how much even that small section has hit them. And I think that we're doing the right thing. If just 2 hours of the game can make people feel that, you've got tens of hours left, hundreds of hours if you're going to play it play it until it's done. It's a yeah. I'm of course I'm nervous. I wouldn't be human if I didn't say I was nervous about it. But I'm confident that there are going to be people out there who really, really, really enjoy it, and it means a lot to them.
You mentioned the demo that was released. There was kind of an overwhelming reaction to it on social media. What do you think a demo like that serves to a game like Final Fantasy 16? Because you don't see a lot of them these days. I feel like demos were much more prevalent back in the day, especially
Yeah.
for a game of this size to put out. a good chunk of it. What do you think that did for the game?
It raised it in the public consciousness like I didn't even imagine. I found it overwhelming watching just these huge streamers play this game who wouldn't normally pick up a Final Fantasy game. I think that this franchise over the past couple of decades does come with a sense of it having an incredibly strong fan base, it being a very important legacy franchise, but maybe it has struggled to bring in lots of new people before. And I think this demo showed how important Final Fantasy can be in the public consciousness and how it is still a franchise that can resonate with people. And mainly because of the story. You
Yeah.
know, people, I think people were really taken with the story and the honesty and a bit of the brutality that happens there. And, you know, it ends on a real cliffhanger and then it says, thank you for playing. And I've just seen so many people say, thank you for playing. Thank you for playing. Um, it's just got a great hook.
Yeah.
And it's such a statement opening. It says, this is Final Fantasy 16. This is the story that we want to tell. This is how we're going to tell it. Get on board this roller coaster. And I think because it's very unapologetic in that vision, it's resonated with a lot of people. And yeah, people who I would never imagine playing it, they're doing it now, and that's really cool.
Mm. Well, I have finished Final Fantasy 16.
Oh, have
I'm
you?
one of the people on Earth that finished Final Fantasy 16 at the time of recording, and I wanted to talk about. So obviously, it's a lot of this game's very heavy. It gets very serious. It gets very deep. But then you'll have moments that are kind of off to the side that are a bit more levity, a bit more light, and it can be a pretty funny game. How did you balance that? Because Clive's a pretty serious character,
Yeah.
and in some games, when you take that serious character and put him in the kind of light-hearted side quest, it's a bit strange, but it seemed to work in this. Was that difficult for you to change the voice? Because it's a very kind of like it's a very action hero-y voice.
It is a very action hero voice, isn't it? I would say that the way this game is designed allows for Clive to exist. His personalities shine through in different ways. So, in a lot of the plot stuff, we really hit the emotional core of what Clive's going through. We really understand what his wants are, what his needs are, and he shows a lot of that intense vulnerability. And that's where we really hit that. But when you go to the side quests, it's not really about Clive, it's about the world, it's about the people that exist in this world. And so Clive is essentially the straight man, is the window into other people's stories. So you will have people that will have more investment in this particular thing. Clive is being asked to go off his own story and be a part of someone else's. And so actually it's quite easy. You just go, right, I am the window into this. And it allows for that comedic element where often you'll get Clive being a fish out of water, doing something that he wouldn't normally do in his own quest. And so you just ask the question, what would Clive do in this scenario? And if he's asked to, you know, help a baker out of a flunk, you know, that's what he'll do. Um, and I felt very fortunate that I didn't need to worry too much when it came to the side quest because it's not Clive's story. You can have an opinion on it. You know, there's those moments in Sam Breck really early on where Clive does have an opinion on how bearers are treated, and there are moments where Clive will not hold back in what he thinks of certain people, but ultimately. It's about those people, and he can be the straight man to the very funny, very eccentric individuals. You know, like a historian might take you on a journey through this world and he might get a little bit annoyed that he's being taken on a wild goose chase, but it's fun to do.
Yeah. And I was also thinking about in terms of you're with Clive the entire time, and obviously in the combat as well, you're hearing his voice a lot. How
Yeah.
conscious of were you of making sure that the voice can hold up for 40, 50, 60 hours without getting grating to the player? Was it like we need to have a voice that's memorable but not so over the top kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that I didn't know what the thinking was. We just kind of jumped in with all hands, all feet, and just saw what happened, really. I think we would play the moment, I think,
Mm,
in everything. Like the voice kind of developed, and you can see like he has kind of a tone that exists down here a lot of the time. But also, you know, when he's talking to different people in different moments, it does change. It does. You do see that facade and that mask break. And it was allowing ourselves to go to those places so it doesn't feel like it's just a singular one note thing. Um, I yeah, the combat noises, come Titan, all of these things. They I really like how he isn't just so reserved. There is this kind of real sense of aggression and passion that comes when he's in combat. You get that real kind of action hero-y in the moment. Ugh! All
Yeah.
all of those noises, which were a killer to do. Um, but from what I played, I think it pays off, and it isn't. I don't think it is too repetitive, actually, considering how much action there is in the game. I think sometimes you can get used to hearing the phrases again and again and again. I mean, hey, sick and toggle, I'm sure you hear that a lot. But yeah, I liked how much bandwidth Clive was given to express himself in the moments that mattered, and when they mattered, I think it shines through.
And when you're doing those kind of grunts and attack noises, were you given just general guidelines, or was that very tightly scripted, or were you given a bit of improvisation there?
uh, they would say to me, we need a light jump here, or we need a heavy attack, and I would give them a load of noises. And I played
Yeah.
so many video games in my life, I know what noises they require from me. The icon powers were more specific, and we actually held off on the icon powers until I could actually see them in situ. So they showed me, essentially the equivalent of Clive in the Areta Stone,
Hmm.
you know, doing those powers, and then I would voice them as I saw them. But we also, under under the direction, decided that the way Clive would vocalize these powers would be um, related to the element themselves, but also how he felt about the icon itself and the dominant who wielded it. And so that was a far more considered choice, which you probably don't notice when you're playing it because you're in the midst of combat, but it was something that we just thought we would add on to it to give it that extra bit of flavor.
Hmm. And that's interesting. Actually, I hadn't thought of it from that perspective, especially when you're getting the icons, they're pretty spread apart. So you're spending a lot of time like getting very used to one or two of them. You're hearing the same thing pretty frequently. So when it changes up, it's a very difficult game to talk about because so much
Yeah,
that goes on that it's like sworn to
there is,
secrecy. Don't want to
of
say
course,
anything.
there's so much that goes on in this game, and I can't wait, for for when it's out and everyone's talking about it and everyone knows all the spoilers and we can talk about it freely, because I've just had to be so cagey about talking around it. There was this fear that the trailers maybe revealed too much, and I kept saying, don't worry, you haven't seen it all. And
Yeah.
what I like is that reviewers are now saying, oh yeah, you haven't seen it all. A lot of stuff happens in this game. It's a very epic an epic story that starts off in one place and definitely doesn't end in the same place at all.
Yeah, we've been the people that I know have also been reviewing it, have been all texting each other, being like, "Did you get to this bit? Did you get to this bit?" Like it's
Yeah.
just one of the kind of water cooler type games, and I think it's interesting when it's coming out right at the end of June. It's basically got the whole summer to kind of dominate the conversation. What are your plans for playing through it? Are you just going to like go and buy a copy on? Well, I presume you wouldn't have to buy a copy on PS5, or are you just going to get a normal copy, play through it start to finish, or have you
Yeah.
been like chipping away at it?
I'm gonna get a copy and play it privately.
Yeah.
It's a journey that's so private to me, so I'm gonna play it on my own time. Um, a lot of people said, "Are you going to stream it?" And I thought, no, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just going to play it. I also think I'll be a terrible streamer because I am the person who, whenever you get landed in a position, will immediately turn around and look for a chest.
Yeah.
I'm just not an entertaining player of video games. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of lock myself in a room and play it privately.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I know what happens. I know all the
Yeah, I
spoilers.
suppose. You
Um,
don't need to worry about it.
Exactly. So I don't have to worry about being spoiled in the game. But I do think there are going to be some lovely moments to see that we worked on and see them in kind of like in full situation. That's going to be fun. A couple of weeks ago, maybe like a few months ago now, Koji and I sat down in a room in his hotel room and just watched loads of the major cut sequences. I just said, "Oh, can I watch this? Can I watch this?" And he showed me, them with Soken's music, and it was really cool to watch. And he and I were just going to be there for half an hour, and I think we ended up being there for like 2 hours, just watching more and more of it, because it was fun to see something that we've worked on come to life with all the graphics in place and all of the music. It was really fun.
Because I suppose to a player, when you're talking about a random sword in the game, that is just talking about a sword. But to you, that's, oh, I remember the day I recorded that. This happened in my normal life. This was what was going on here. Like, it must be
Yeah,
such an insane time capsule for you.
it's such a weird time capsule, especially when I come to certain side missions. I remember getting to a side mission and then just texting a lot of my friends who worked on the game, being like, "We're here," and then we just have memories of that side mission. Or there would be a cut sequence that would have taken us ages to record, and I just think, God, I remember where I was at that point in my life because we did it for 4 years. It's just a blast from the past every single time, and I'm interested when I play it to see if I can enjoy it. I won't be able to enjoy it in the same way. I'll enjoy it in a different way. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride having just constant reminders of where I was over the past 4 years. And there are scenes that I remember doing when Susie and I were in the same room together, or Ralph and I were in the same room together, like really early on in 2019 when we first started, like those recording sessions where we were actually together. A lot of that stuff that you see with Sid is us in the same room,
Hmm.
doing the travel banter, doing that kind of back and forth. Um, which is neat, and it'll just kind of bring me back immediately to that time when I first started, young innocent Ben, how little he knew of what was going to happen in the future.
Well, now you've been like the front facing man for this game, pretty much up there with Yoshi P. What were the events like in LA? You were all over the place.
I was all over the place, wasn't I? Oh
Yeah.
wow. Basically because I wanted to. I think that I am in a fortunate position that I love video games and I love this franchise. So I will happily step out and talk about it because it's something that I'm just so proud of. Um, and also, it's an opportunity for me to talk to people like you, to introduce myself to people whose work that I admire and whose work that I have followed for years from the shadows, just as a fan, as a player.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to talk about this. So, and I could hardly go up going, "Hi, you don't know me, but I'm going to play a character in a video game at some point in the future that I can't tell you about." It's been so wonderful to get to meet people who I really, really look up to and talk to about something that I'm really passionate about. And it's been, as much as it is tiring to do, I would gladly do it 10 times over. And so, yeah, talking to you, talking to Kind of Funny, Easy Allies, Friends Per Second, these people who are, their insight into the industry is so important to me that I get to kind of speak to them on an even keel.
I mean, it's very reciprocated. I feel like we can on our side we can sniff out when people are like into games for the sake of like the PR cycle of their specific game. But with you, it's like I saw there was an article because you gave some random indie RPG a shout out, and that became like an article on Twitter.
Chained
So
Echoes, yeah, yeah, I was
there we
shouting
go.
out Chained.
There's a second shout out for Chained Echoes.
Yeah,
Um,
am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say
go,
that on here? Chain, you can
go,
edit.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Chained Echoes is such a banger. I think I heard about Chained Echoes because I was listening to the Besties podcast
Mm.
and they mentioned it, and I went, "Oh, that seems really interesting." And then I just saw a lot of people. It kind of missed a lot of people's game of the year because it came out towards the tail end. And I think it's free on Game Pass. Well, at no extra cost on Game Pass.
Yeah.
But I played it. I played it on PlayStation. Got it for 20 quid, and it was the best 20 quid I'd ever spent. It's such a cool RPG. The leveling up system's really interesting. You get these grimoire shards. You get to, instead of just like fighting random enemies, you level up every time you defeat a boss. The music is amazing. It's got a great 2D art style, a bit like Chrono Trigger. Yeah,
That's big
would
words.
recommend.
Evoking Chrono Trigger. That's
you
pretty
can't
serious.
you can't avoid it. It's so Chrono Trigger all over it. It's got the DNA of Chrono Trigger. So is it as good as Chrono Trigger? We'll see. But it's a really good game, and
Mm.
the music is amazing.
Very nice. Well, once the cycle of 16 is dying down, I'm going to get you on the normal podcast just to talk about whatever games you're playing that week. Get you in
Yeah.
there to be a correspondent.
Oh, I have things to say. Don't worry. I have opinions that I'll share with you.
So now you're in the Final Fantasy family. If they do another Dissidia or something like that, and they ask you to come back, are you straight away no questions asked? Is Clive your man forever?
Yeah, I don't think Square Enix is going to be able to get rid of me.
Yeah.
I'm in it now. Unfortunately, you've hired me, and I'll never leave. I would. I don't know what the future holds at all, and that's the most exciting part. is that even though I've come to the end of this journey with Clive currently, the fact is that when the game comes out, he gets into other people's hands. Other people get to enjoy him, and he's going to live a completely new life. And who knows what will happen? And that's really, really exciting. That sense of the unknown is kind of cool. That people have said, "Oh, you're going to feel really sad when it's over." I'm like, it's not over. This is the start of Clive's journey, and how people are going to embrace him in the pantheon of Final Fantasy characters.
Because for some people, this will be their first, and like Clive will become some people's Cloud, and you have to take that on for the rest of your career. Like people coming up to you and
Yeah.
be like, "You're the first Final Fantasy main character I ever saw." Like, gonna
That's
be,
cool. That's
yeah,
cool. Like, I know the power of that. As I've said many, many times, Final Fantasy VIII is the game that changed my life. Squall is the character who was my first protagonist. And the idea that Clive will be someone's first protagonist is really cool, and that I will have played a part in introducing these people to the expansive worlds of Final Fantasy is really special. Is
yeah.
really, really special. Because I know what a profound effect it had on me, and there are going to be so many new people who jump into this, and I get to help take them on this journey. Is pretty neat.
So when are we getting you in the armor?
It's a very, very good question. It's a
Yeah,
very good question. I actually pitched to Yoshi P that he should get in the armor, and I will dress up as Torgal.
nice.
Um, and I think he might be receptive to it.
I mean,
I would love to. I would love to get in the full Clive gear. I want to do it properly, and I imagine you will see me in cosplay by the end of the year.
a,
Let's
a,
just say
a
that.
bloody better. If I don't,
Yeah,
I'll
you
be
will
deeply,
specifically.
yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and do a private session. I'll send you loads of photos and say these are just for you.
Excellent. That's
Yeah, got
that's
it.
what I expected. That's my payment for having you on this broadcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Thank you.
Ben, you have even more podcasts to go and do. You're the man about town at the minute, but I
I
mean,
am.
you only get to be only 16, well, not even 16 people because the first couple of games didn't have voices, but only a certain amount of people have been the lead character in a Final Fantasy game. So
Yeah,
bloody enjoy
yeah.
it.
I will do. And thank you for having me on.
Of
It's very
course.
cool.
I'm gonna get you back a moment's notice. It'll be a Thursday morning, half an hour before we record. I'll be like, Ben, can you come on and just what have you been playing this week? Just come on and talk about it.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I don't have people to talk about this with. This is again why I'm jumping on a lot of these things, is that
Yeah.
I have a wonderful friendship group. Very few people in that friendship group actually enjoy video games to the level that I do. So all my podcasts, all my YouTube is just like video game centric.
Mm.
And the fact that I would get to kind of express my love of that in this way is really, really special. So just call me up anytime, middle of the night. What am I playing? I'll let you know.
Thanks so much to Ben for joining us. You can read our full review of Final Fantasy 16 on VGC. Be sure to check out VGC, a video game podcast, on all major audio podcast platforms each week.